Hey, 80s Nation, I know it's a year away, but the 80s cruise is 92% sold out. Time is running out for you to get your cabin. Don't miss the ship that's going to include performances by The Human League, 38 Special, Berlin to Carlisle, Morris Day and the Time, ABC, Dire Straits Legacy, Modern English, Jack Russell's Great White, John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, A Flock of Seagulls, The Alarm, The Sugar Hill Gang, John Parr, Johnny Hates Jazz. And, of course, the entire event is hosted by the original MTV VJs Mark, Alan, and Nina. Brad and I will be there hosting trivia and recording live podcasts. You can join us. Go to www.the80scruise.com right now and use the promo code STUCK when booking to get $200 cabin credit. That's the code STUCK for first-time guests for $200 cabin credit. Can't wait to meet you and cruise with you March 2022 on the Royal Caribbean Mariner of the Seas. Now on with the show.
Travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the laughter. The heroes.
Pick up your phone and call the professionals. Go, Ghostbusters.
And the honesty.
What's up, Norm? My nipples. It's freezing out there.
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Sure, it's not 1985 right now, but who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Oh, say, can you see I'm coming to America?
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's your host, Steve Spears.
And Brad in L.A.
And today we give you our review of the sequel to Coming to America and remind you again that there's a fine line between love and nausea.
American cinema is the best.
The best? That is like the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard. Because what do we have besides superhero shit, remakes, and sequels to old movies nobody asked for?
This is true about sequels. If something is good,
why ruin it?
Stuck in the 80s is now listener-supported via Patreon. And now we have membership tiers with added benefits and annual memberships. Join us for VIP Zoom happy hours, swag bags, co-hosting opportunities, and more when you join at patreon.com/stuckinthe80spodcast.
Well, I be damned. Look who done come up in here.
Hey, it's Kunta Kinte and Ebola.
Famine and Blood Diamond.
Nelson Mandela and Winnie.
With us today, straight from the presidential palaces of Washington, it's Gail in D.C.
Hello.
It's great to have you back.
I'm glad to be here.
I got to say, you're sort of a star nowadays. I just noticed that you have a blog called Every Day I Write the Book blog, and you were promoting it, I guess, and Demi Moore picked it up.
Well, what happened was that I have this Instagram feed. I post pictures of my dog with the books that I read, and then I hashtag them dogs and books, which is a surprisingly active hashtag on Instagram. So I guess Demi Moore was probably, pandemic bored one night, and she started going through and finding people who had tagged her book, her memoir, with she just found pictures of people who had posted pictures of their pets with the book. And I had done that, a while ago. I think I read her book like a year ago. I don't even remember. It's been a long time. And I posted a picture of him, and I had done it on audio. So it was actually just him with the iPhone because I don't have a physical copy of the book. And so one night I was pandemic bored and kind of looking through my Instagram feed, and I saw her, and she posted, I really am enjoying seeing people's pictures of my book and their pets and their furry friends or something. And she posted a couple of them, and I was just scrolling. I kind of had forgotten that I'd done it. And all of a sudden they're looking back at me as my own dog in Demi Moore's feed. And I realized she tagged me in it. And I just missed the notification because it had been like a week before.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I was very excited.
Fun.
That's cool.
Yes. So I took an immediate screenshot and, of course, posted it on Facebook and was very excited.
Speaking of pandemic bored, Amazon Prime has given us a gift lately. It's the sequel to Coming to America, the 1988 movie starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall.
Prepare the royal jet. We are going back to America.
Oh, hell no, Your Majesty.
No, I will find this bastard of Queens, and I will look into his eyes. And if I see the strength of our ancestors, I shall know he is of my blood. Then he must come back to Zamunda and take the princely test. heir to the throne of Zamunda, born in America, land of opportunity.
It came out on March 5th on Amazon Prime. Today we're going to tell you if the movie's worth watching. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes, Coming to America, clever title, has a 51% fresh rating. So
you better get to it fast before it spoils.
Exactly. I think what we're going to talk about today is that the first movie had such great charm and amazing characters, and that's a tall order to repeat 3 decades later.
Yeah.
Somebody need to whip your ass.
Mm-hmm. Get up and whip him, Sweets.
So we all watched it pretty much the day it came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a double header.
You watched
did
both?
you watch the first one and then?
I did.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah, well, I'm dedicated to this podcast.
You can't be telling Steve stuff like that. He's going to move me to the reserve roster.
Well, you do your research. You get the pole position.
I will say the one thing that I love that they continue in both movies is in the opening credits where it shows the Paramount Mountain. In both the original movie and in the sequel, the camera then goes, past the mountain to where Zamunda is. So I loved that in the first movie, and they do continue with the second movie. And that might be where the charm
ends.
Did you notice that the credits have the same font?
Oh, no. Nice.
Yeah, this is what happens when you watch them back to back. But yeah, it's this kind of stylized 80s font, and they kept it. I was sort of wondering about that. Like, did they have the font somewhere? Like, did someone have to recreate them?
I think it's the same one they use for Princess Bride. I'm not. It's pretty close.
Join us on our other podcast, Typography Today, where we look into this and serifs, good or bad.
Bad. Anyway, if you need it, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, here's a quick recap of the first movie 30-some years ago.
Yeah, what are you doing listening to this podcast if you need this? But thanks for downloading.
I boiled it down to a sentence. Eddie Murphy is Prince Akeem of Zamunda, who spurns an arranged marriage to go to America and find a true love to be his wife. The end.
Hijinks ensue.
I want you and that young man to tie that knot. I'm going to pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes. He helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan get off the island. Lord.
We're not gonna give you too many spoiler alerts for the second movie during the course of today's podcast. We'll talk a little bit about some surprises and what else we found charming besides the typography. As anyone who knows who's watched the trailers go, it's not that far-fetched of a story this time around. It is 30 years later. Prince Akeem is coping with having his dad on his deathbed. He has 3 kids, but they're all girls, and according to Zamunda law, the crown must be passed to a male heir. And it turns out that Akeem unknowingly fathered a son during his first trip to America, so he returns to Queens to find him, and in the process, we pretty much get to meet every character that was in the very first movie. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, they horn everybody in there one way or the other.
Yeah. The movie was actually supposed to be released in theaters last year, August.
Yeah.
And, of course, the COVID pandemic led Paramount to just sell it to Amazon, which I think, thank heavens they did. I haven't been to a movie theater since this whole thing started, even though I think they're open again here in Florida.
Huh. No, I haven't either. That would just... People. Hell is other people.
Yeah, it's like, did you just have your hand in the popcorn bin?
Like, are you touching that stuff?
Yes.
That seems like ill-advised, dude.
I gave you my ticket, you touched it, you tore it, and you gave it back to me? How dare you?
Monsters.
John Landis was the director in the first movie. Craig Brewer is the director in this sequel. Anyone recognize his name?
Isn't there a baseball team named after him? No.
He's not my co-host for nothing, folks. He directed Dolomite Is My Name. He did the reboot of Footloose 10 years ago. He did
Never seen it.
Hustle and Flow. You didn't see Footloose? Gail,
I didn't see the remake. Did
you see the remake, Gail?
I did not.
Okay.
Anytime I get the urge to watch Footloose, I'm going to watch Footloose.
It's okay.
I mean, okay, look, if we decided to do a podcast that was like a shootout, the first one and the redo, then I would watch them. I would Gale that crap up and double header it so I could have it all clear in my mind. But I've heard it's fine, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Wow. Someone's got buckets of water and he's ready to fling them today.
Well, that's all I got here.
Okay, so let me throw it to you guys. Gail, when you watched it last night, what stood out to you? Like, what were the things that kind of caught your eye right off the bat?
Off the bat, I feel like the true value of this movie is in the nostalgia rather than in kind of the standalone artistry of the new movie. Are
you rolling your eyes when you said that?
Oh my gosh! How did you say that with a straight voice, Gail?
I'm trying to be diplomatic. Like you said, it pulls a lot of threads from the first movie, and threads them into the second movie. So it opens the same way. You've got Prince Akeem being awoken by the same guy who awakens him every day. There's a lot of just little things that have been updated and little kind of inside jokes and winky nods to the first one, and
sure.
That part is definitely fun. As a movie itself, I wasn't crazy about it. I'm sure we're going to get into that more, but off the bat, I would sell this much more as like a nostalgia play for people who were old enough to remember the first one, rather than something for someone to watch fresh.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it that way, Gail, but you're right. If you are unfamiliar with the source material from Coming to America, this is going to be a complete nothing burger.
I don't know. Maybe it's actually funny to someone who never saw the first movie.
You have disgraced yourself, and you must be punished. You will confine yourself to our royal suite at the Waldorf Astoria, and see that he puts on some decent attire. And I want you to bathe him thoroughly.
Oh, thank you, Your Majesty.
Let's talk a little bit about the characters.
Yeah.
Everybody returns. I mean, really, everybody returns. The only two people that I can make out that didn't return are Prince Akeem's mom, the Queen, that actress, Madge Sinclair, passed away of cancer in 1995. She's referenced in a real touching scene. The actor who played General Aziz, who is giving his daughter away in the first movie, Calvin Lockhart, he died in 2007. Unless I missed it, I don't think Samuel L. Jackson makes an appearance, does he?
No, nor does Eric LaSalle, who played Daryl in the first movie. And I was bummed not to see him.
I could have sworn they would have shoehorned him in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's like trying to win her back.
Yeah, or just to have him like be on the, somewhere, like just anywhere, like up against the couch, with the Soul Glow. What really to me hurts this movie is Eddie Murphy doesn't do any acting. Arsenio Hall doesn't do any acting. They just kind of stand there and grin and
they kind of mug for the camera.
Yeah. It's like an SNL skit.
I have to say, when Wesley Snipes' character comes in, I'm like, is he a general or does he have a dance crew? There's an awful lot of choreography there.
Yeah.
But that's a nod to the first one.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if you remember, this was making me laugh last night, the scene in the first movie where they're about to introduce the bride that he's being, set up to marry. And there's like this 10-minute dance scene beforehand of these people dancing in front. And you're kind of watching him and he's waiting and he wants to see her. And there's like this buildup and the dancing goes on and on and on. So I was thinking that the Wesley Snipes intro scene where you've got the same type of dancing, sort of updated. It's not women, scantily clad women anymore. But I think it was a nod back to that.
Yeah.
Because that was such a big part of the first movie. James
Earl Jones, who had such a nice, warm relationship with Eddie Murphy in the first movie, like you really got the feeling that they had some sort of a bond. You don't feel it this one time. James Earl Jones is just like this angry old man who wants to kill Semi. And then what I read online like an hour or so ago is he wasn't even on set. His scenes were shot elsewhere with Eddie Murphy.
Interesting.
He wasn't well enough to travel due to his age. So
that may be why you didn't get the chemistry.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. I think what's interesting, though, is to me, the most interesting character in the movie is the actor who plays Eddie's son, Jermaine Fowler.
Yo, look where I'm at. Not supposed to be here. My whole life, I had dreams that my pops would show up and take me and my mom away to a whole new life. And come to find out, he's a king. To a whole damn country. And the only way to meet his expectations is to walk with a stick up my ass or get myself killed. This ain't my way, Marimbe. And I can't I can't be what he wants me to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one who has given any sort of dimension to him.
Yeah, he's got some arc. Everyone else, not so much.
Yeah. The whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking of the remake of Ghostbusters, and I'm thinking how criminally bad that was. And I'm like, man, if this is just better than that, I'll be happy.
Was it?
Yeah. but it didn't clear the bar by a lot, but it cleared it. Someone's going to walk out.
What I felt about this movie is it was kind of trying to be too many genres at one time.
Yeah.
Like it had the kind of slapsticky humor, the like Tracy Morgan, Leslie Jones stuff.
Yeah.
And then it had a whole nostalgia bent to it. But then it was trying to do this, I need to be my own person. The son needs to like stand up to his father. And, that felt very thin to me. Like that was not very convincing. And then there was also this whole female empowerment angle that was like, it's almost like lip service to female empowerment without actually doing the work to illustrate it. Like,
right.
He's got these daughters and they can't succeed him because of Zamunda law. So he has to go find this son who basically just, shows up at the opportune moment. But it kind of that
quite
whole,
literally,
literally,
I'm going to New York to find one single human being amongst the millions of people that live here. The third person I meet is him.
Right. That whole should a girl be entitled to inherit the throne? That gets subsumed with the whole Wesley Snipes, neighboring country, we're going to assassinate you thing. So like, I felt like it actually had an opportunity to really truly update it for 2021 and say, we're going to, because the first movie is pretty, I wouldn't say it's misogynistic, but it's, it's dated and it's old fashioned. Sure. And it had a chance to like really make a statement, and it did not in any way.
I get the feeling that they wrote the script to the second one, and somebody stood up and made the point that you just did, Gail, and said, and then the writers were like, "Oh crap, give us like 25 minutes and we'll fix it."
We'll add 2 scenes. We'll have some more quarterstaff fighting because warlords with guns are always subdued by teenage women with broomsticks. I mean, Don't get me wrong; they were badasses with those broomsticks, but this is they beat up a guy who says to his little tribe of kids that he's teaching in class, okay, go play with your AKs now. So that was kind of funny.
Did anyone notice that Eddie Murphy's middle daughter, Oma, that's actually his real daughter, Bella Murphy?
Nice.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So, I mean, to fill in some of the gaps here, so Tracy Morgan is in the movie. He plays the uncle of the lost heir. Leslie Jones, which I don't think I knew this, but I guess everyone else who read the reviews ahead of time knew it. She plays the mom. So that's nice. They're not the only cameos you see. Like half of the SNL cast is in there at some point or another in tiny roles.
Well, Colin Jost is in there. Actually, did you catch who Colin Jost was?
Yeah.
The grandson of the Duke brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun scene. I laughed at that scene.
That was fun.
Yeah. Who else from SNL was in there?
Pete Davidson was the guy who was running the Uber or the Lyft.
Oh, okay. That was Pete Davidson. I was trying to figure out who that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
got it.
And then there was others. I liked that they brought Louis Anderson back. I love that they brought back John Amos as Mr. McDowell. I would not be surprised if All of Sexual Chocolate is played by the original band that was Sexual Chocolate in the first movie.
Yeah.
I
just assumed it was.
Like, why'd go to all the trouble to not do that? I mean, as much as we thought that the movie had its problems, there were a lot of little fun moments. Like, there's probably a dozen laughs in there, like, or at least a hearty chuckle, right?
Oh, well, there's also some musical acts that were, very well placed. So when they're doing a celebration for King Joffrey, so Salt and Pepper comes out, and
that was great. That was actually great.
And who was the other?
In Vogue
comes out, and it's all narrated by Morgan Freeman. Random but funny.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you noticed this, but in the wedding, the wedding at the end, some of the musical acts were actually people from the first movie. Like there were these random rapping twins. They are women that Akeem and Semi meet when they're looking for women in the bar in the first time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Straight from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was funny. Yeah, and of course they reprised all of the Eddie Murphy barber shop characters.
Yeah.
The old Jewish guy and the barber, and then the other guy. They have two guys.
And I thought it was great, but I didn't think their jokes were very funny. I mean, you know what? I can't remember which one it was, but it was going pretty good for me. And then one of them made a joke. I'm like, they lost me there. It's like just not. Some of it was good. Some of it was good. I don't know. Yeah. I chuckled. There's a moment. We're really damning it with faint praise here, aren't we? I know. I found it mildly amusing. There's this great moment where they're watching CNN in Zamunda, and you hear, "This is ZNN," and it's James Earl Jones doing the voice of "This is ZNN," just like he does for "This is CNN." That got a laugh out of
Trevor Noah on that?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought that
took me forever to figure that out.
Yeah, I was like, that guy looks really familiar, but he had a mustache and a beard. I thought that was Trevor Noah.
The more people who recognize the bit characters that are out there, the more people who recognize that, the more you'll enjoy it. If right. Because if you don't, you're going to be missing the insider jokes. So
you're fishing in an empty pond otherwise.
Yeah.
I read some of the reviews online. One of them said, quote, "This isn't a movie or a proper sequel. It's a reunion with forced cameos of popular characters from decades ago. There's a few laughs, but nothing remotely close to its predecessor."
Oh, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Everything you just said is totally
I feel
true.
like they just summed up the last 20 minutes for us.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
How dare they?
And somebody else who was a little bit kinder wrote, "For some viewers, it will be like reuniting with a beloved family member. Others will be left shaking their heads and muttering, 'Damn shame what they did to that dog.'" Which is,
look, if you're listening to this podcast and you have access to Amazon Prime, you're going to watch it. It's fine. Watch it. It will not cause, boils to break out on your skin or anything untoward to happen to you. You will not become either less or more sexually attractive to those that you are attracted to. It's fine. You'll watch it. It'll be fine. So don't let us scare you off of it. But if you're expecting, Citizen Kane,
yeah.
I also recommend watching it when you're sober and completely awake and bored already. That'll help.
Really, try and set the bar as low as you can for your enjoyment experience.
Basically the last 12 months.
Yeah, at this point, it's actually the timing is great, right? Because I'm running out of stuff on Netflix. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. If I had paid $12 to see this in the theater, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but along with free shipping?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
You don't know how many times Amazon comes to this house. It's ridiculous. I say I probably get, 4 or 5 deliveries a week of something, because it's just like, why,
If you don't have to leave the house.
Yeah, I don't like to leave the house, really.
There's one thing I was thinking about that I wanted to raise. The cast is almost entirely black, and of both movies. And I wonder if that changes your perspective on it if you're African American. Does this movie does it mean something more to you than it means to the three of us? I don't know. I would be interested to hear sort of some diverse perspectives on it, to see if there's something that we're missing, or if there's some, if there's a bigger meaning to it, or if the kind of evolution of the last 35 years feels different. I don't know. I'm just curious.
No, that's a good question.
No, that's a fair question.
To me, it feels like a movie and a script that was written by TV sitcom writers. It's just a little too pat and a little too fast to get where it's going. I joked about how he finds his son within like 5 movie minutes of arriving in New York City. If you step half a step back from it and you're like, really, guys? I don't know. And then everyone just accepts, oh, he's my dad. Great. Let's go.
It's so campy. It would have been better as a stage musical.
Yes. If you know what? Singing and dancing covers a lot of plot holes.
Yeah. So, what else covers a lot of plot holes?
The Seggies.
It's time for listener mailbag. We've got a sad letter to read today, but first, can I come back and just say, Eddie Murphy still looks really good in this movie. He and Arsenio Hall both look like they haven't aged 10 years.
Yeah, they look great.
There's one scene where he looked really heavy, but I don't know if that was intentional. It was weird.
I noticed that too. It was kind of towards the end, and I'm like, is that just a weird drape on that? It was like a black thing he's wearing, and I'm like, holy cow, dude.
Yeah. I felt like Eddie Murphy in this movie he looked like he was at a milestone birthday party for himself. Like he just looked happy, like he was enjoying it. There were old friends there. You know, like he seemed like almost a little bit detached from the whole thing, like kind of watching it. Kind of it's a victory lap. Face. This is so cool. It's 33 years later, and look, I'm surrounded by these same people that I made the movie with the first time. And, it's such a success, and people generally love me, and I'm just enjoying this. That's what it seemed like to me.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's a great outtake at the end. I don't know if you caught this one, where that I'm forgetting his name, the actor who plays Lavelle. He is apparently a big Eddie Murphy fan. There was actually a really long article about him today in the Washington Post, and he grew up loving Eddie Murphy, and it was a huge inspiration for him. He was listening to Eddie's comedy albums as a kid and, thinking like, I really want to do this. And he is, there's a point where he's saying something in the movie. He delivers his line, and he does it in that sing-songy voice, like the old ice cream character.
Yes.
Remember,
yes.
I got my ice cream. And he does that, and Eddie Murphy, and they've got the camera on Eddie Murphy's face, and Eddie kind of sits there and he looks at him and he goes, wait a minute, that's my thing. I do that. And the actor just started laughing because he had done it, obviously intentionally. And it was just sort of a sweet interplay between the two of them. And I feel like, Eddie's later in life, he's probably a little mellower, and he just seems to be just enjoying this entire phenomenon.
Sure. Jermaine Fowler was amazing in that role, and there's definitely chemistry between the two of them. And we should have said that too. Whatever you do, watch the credits all the way to the very end. I mean, all the way to the very, very, very end.
Oh, no. I have to go back and watch it again, don't I?
Yeah,
I'm skipping to the credits.
Yeah, they were good.
There's 3 different sets of outtakes in the credits.
It was late. I was very tired.
You get to hear
much old-fashioned and many mac and cheese. I wanted to go to bed.
So, no, it's worth it. Go back. In the meantime, we have a letter from Max Headlong, which we've been holding on to this one for a while. And while I sit here and grab a hanky.
Buckle up, kids. Here we go. Max begins. Hey, gang. Here's my story for the podcast Time Machine. In the late 80s, I was in college in Canada, and these were definitely the best years of my life. One night at the campus bar, my fraternity roommate, Mike, saw his lab partner, Joanne, at the bar and decided to go over and chat with her. Joanne was with another girl, Karen, who was Joanne's roommate. When I saw him with them, I was instantly entranced by Karen's appearance and decided to go over. I, quote, worked my charm, and ended up spending the night getting to know her better. No funny business, though. We ended up dating and eventually became engaged. We moved in together and started to make plans for our future. The challenge was she was going to graduate from her 2-year registered nursing program 1 year earlier than I was going to finish my degree. We decided on a plan that we knew was going to be a challenge, but would be for the best in the long run. She would move down to Galveston, Texas to work at the University of Texas Medical Branch along with 2 of her classmates. Additionally, a good friend of mine from the fraternity had moved down there because his fiancée was also a nurse and got a job there as well. This seemed to be pretty ideal given the circumstances. Although it was hard to be away from each other, we figured it would only be a year and we could get through it. I went to visit her in the summer, and she came back to visit me in the fall. When I took her to the airport, I escorted her as far as I was allowed. I hugged her, gave her a kiss, and told her that we would see each other again soon. Everything seemed all right. Early in December, I was sitting in my apartment when the phone rang. I picked it up, and I recognized the voice as Karen's roommate. This was initially very weird, and then his voice started to crack. All of a sudden, I knew something was wrong. He struggled to get the words out. Karen was in a car accident last night, and she died. My life instantly came crashing down around me. I was in shock, and I didn't know what to say or do. I became very depressed for months and struggled to fulfill even the most basic life functions. If it wasn't for my friends, I'm not sure how I would have made it through the darkness. It was devastating to everyone that knew her. I went back to her home in a small town in Nova Scotia for the funeral, which was held in a large town nearby. The funeral home was packed. In fact, they had to set up overflow seating in the foyer. I ended up living with her family for 2 years while I went to school out there and became very close with her parents, her sister, and brother. They adopted me as their own. But getting to the podcast Time Machine, I would go back in time and never let her leave. Not for me. I'm married and I love my wife dearly, but I wish Karen was still alive for her family and friends who had her taken away at such a young age. It puts a new perspective on life. I can only try to appreciate the people I have around me now. Sorry for the downer, but that's my podcast Time Machine request. Max Headlong.
Oof.
Oh. Okay, all you people that wanted to go back and ask some girl to the junior high dance, I bet you feel really silly right now, don't you? Because you don't get to go in the podcast time machine.
Yeah. Max, you got a seat, the very first one.
Dude.
When we get these letters, I sometimes think I know which way they're going. And I remember reading this the first time, and I thought, oh, they're going to have some epic breakup scene. And
that's what I was expecting, too.
And, or the fraternity brother ends up, doing something he shouldn't have done or something like that. And then when he delivers the hammer, I remember Brad and us both writing back to Max and saying, just no words. Just, we didn't even know what to say to him.
Yeah.
So we love your letters.
Send
Please.
us a happy one sometime.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays.
It seems like the last few have been sad, but so give it a shot. The email address is podcast@sid80s.com. Hey, it's time for our new Seggy, Stuck in the Arcade. We rolled this out about a month ago, and then we promptly went on a podcast hiatus.
Seggy-free existence.
Yeah, Brad had a lot of work trips.
Traveling during the pandemic is even less fun
than you thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh.
So the nature of the Seggy is we'll play a snippet of an arcade game from the 80s. And if you get it right, you're into the drawing for this. It's the same swag we always give. It's the postal... Oh, my God, I can't say it anymore.
You lost that love and feeling.
I blame Max Headlong. So I'm still kind of choked up a little bit. I'm sorry. Postal-friendly bottle opener. God, that's just... No, I'm serious. That too hanky. That was a too hanky letter. So anyway, pay attention. So hey, let's all celebrate by playing arcade games.
Got a quarter?
What was your favorite game, Gail, when you played the arcades?
Oh, it's like such a cliche.
Pac-Man? Frogger, really? I don't think that's a cliche.
Funny. That's one of Katie's favorites.
It's kind of like a girl game.
Well, think about it. I don't know.
It was Katie's favorite, too. That and Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. The future wife likes Miss Pac-Man. I gave her a miniature version of it. I liked Zaxxon, which nobody name checks.
But, I don't know that one.
No,
you flew. It was isometric.
Yes, yeah. It was one of the first ones of those. So, what was yours, Brad? Oh, you liked Joust.
I'm not that good at Joust. I played a lot of Galaga.
Yeah, everybody did.
And Galaga 3, which was gapless in some places. We played a lot of that.
Big fan of the Tron game too.
Yeah.
It's still my secret wish to get a Tron game.
Yeah. All you need is a secret wish and several $1,000s, and one can be delivered
3,000.
to your home.
Yeah, 3,000 about. Anyway, pay attention. Here's the clip from the last time we did this Seggy. Yes, that's Donkey Kong. We gave you one of the easiest ones first.
Why is that, Steve? Because it's on like Donkey Kong.
I was always shitty at Donkey Kong. I just never could. The ladders. I get killed on the ladders.
Only Mario-involved game that I ever played. I played a lot of the original Mario Brothers. Do you remember that one?
Sure, yeah.
Where you're like the crabs and the turtles. And
yeah.
I
was okay at that, but not Donkey Kong.
That was a good co-op game.
Yeah. Anyway, as you might imagine, we had a few winners. A couple people recognized it.
Yeah, one or two.
So, Brad, Gail and I are going to go make a sandwich and watch the movie again while you read the list.
Okay, here we go, kids. You ready? Winners this week include Jeremy in St. Pete, Florida, Crispy Critter, Commodore 64 Will, Michelle, Colin Hall from Little Rock, Arkansas, Cliff from somewhere north of Detroit, Tracy Zuziak, Kevin Serving Wench, Alejandro Stix Cardoso Solis from Tijuana, Mexico, who apparently knows everything, Jeff and Charity in Richlands, Virginia, apology accepted, Captain Nita, Tom Korn in Austria, Bart Kopp from West Des Moines, Iowa, Peter Ryan, John Ross from Charlotte, North Carolina, East Coast Alex, Dan in Omaha, Alan Titus, John Clexton, Brock in North Dakota, Dougie E. Fresh from the frozen tundra of Frisco, Shan Nichols, Rick Parker, Cincinnati Joe, Scott in Boston, formerly Scott in New Hampshire, Mailman Jeff in Jacksonville, Chuck Coverly, Mike from the Sloats, Jim Hawk, Todd in Minnesota, Scott S., Derek Rutan, pick one. Phil from Adelaide, Kelly Enriquez, Debbie H. from the MV, Richie Casto, Dallas and St. Joseph, Missouri. Carlos M. Hernandez in St. Louis, Missouri. Buck from Wally World. Christine in Philly. Dave, Augie, August, Dan in McDonough, and Joe from Athens. Dang. Now, we also had some listeners, Steve, who thought that was the sound from the Atari 2600 game Pitfall.
Huh.
It's similar, but it ain't the same. That's one of those close but no cigar moments, I think. Sorry, second place, no bottle opener.
Gail, why don't you spin the wheel? Let's find out who's going to take home the postal-friendly bottle opener. Looks like it's going to be Jim Hawk. You were this week's winner, so send us your postal-friendly address. That just doesn't sound right. Postal-friendly address? Is that what I'm supposed to say?
No.
Anyone?
Just send us a mailing address.
Don't
make it any harder than it is.
God.
I know, words are tricky, especially when you're a writer.
Well, we did I'll talk about it in a few minutes when we talk about this virtual sail-away party. But, boy, I had a bad night on the microphone the other night, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. In the meantime, pay attention. Here's this week's Mystery Arcade Sound. If you know it, email us at podcast@sat80s.com and tune in soon to find out if you're a winner. We'll be right back after this very familiar commercial break.
You know, you can be all the things you always wanted to be. Beautiful, sexy, easy as 1, 2, 3. Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow.
And we're back. We have just a few minutes left. I want to mention that the 80s cruise was supposed to sail away today as we record. Or maybe it was yesterday. The 2021 voyage, which of course was postponed because of the pandemic. So it's going in 2022. But on March 13th, the 80s Cruise is hosting a virtual sail-away party on Zoom. And it'll have the MTV VJs. It'll have some other entertainment. I think some special guest appearances. And it's anchored...
because you've been bad.
It's anchored by Brad and me doing a online version of Big 80s Trivia, which we did a rehearsal for the other night, and I couldn't have sounded worse or acted more goofily on microphone than I did that night.
I think you were okay. I don't know. It's interesting because, believe it or not, even though Steve and I do hate people, you do pick up some energy from the room when you're doing, trivia in a room full of people, the anger and the happiness. And on Zoom, it's going to be interesting. We're just going to have to let it fly and hope that the jokes land.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to get any feedback.
Well, I remember the night after that, I kept waking up and sending myself emails throughout the night with changes to the trivia that I thought, that question's too hard. We can't ask a question about the TV sitcom Flow. So I changed it to a Punky Brewster one and stuff like that. And there's a couple other changes. Like I kept emailing myself. And then in between the emails, there's also these abusive emails that I sent myself saying, you're an idiot. Next time warm up and be more prepared. Come with your homework already done.
I kind of like the email you sent me.
What did I send you? That happens a lot.
The subject of the email was criticism of Brad.
Well, that just had the edits that we wanted to make.
But it made me laugh when I got it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, it's a different vibe. So yeah. I'm glad we did the rehearsal. I'm like, do we really need a rehearsal? We're pros. We've done this 5 times, but it is a little different doing it on Zoom. And it was good to get the technology stuff lined up.
And even if you're not thinking about coming on the cruise, you can still come to the virtual sail-away party. There's no RSVP. Well, look on our Facebook page and stuff, and we'll have links to it all over the place. And if you don't, just email us, and I'll email you the information as soon as I have it. But it's Saturday night, March 13th. I think it starts around 7 or so Eastern time. And Brad and I, like I said, I think we take the stage at 9:15.
We're going to bring it in.
So
bringing that ship into the shore, and we're going to throw away our oars forever. Stupid effing Or song.
I love that song. Why do you have to be so abusive to REO Speedwagon?
I love the Speedwagon. That song is just dumb. It's lyrically ridiculous. That's the name of my. That will be the name of my autobiography. Lyrically ridiculous. The Brad Williams story.
That's fair enough. In the meantime, we also have to thank some patrons. We got some new patrons since we last talked. Brad, you want to read their names?
These people are not lyrically ridiculous. In fact, they are some of our favorites. We would very much like to thank our new patrons, Polly Cornelier, Mike R., and Andy Cloutier.
Yep.
I think I know Andy. I think I used to play volleyball with Andy. Thanks, Andy. Thanks to all of you.
I have a friend we call Bad Andy, but I don't think he's a patron. So if you go to patreon.com/StuckIn80s podcast, there's tiers. Different donation levels get you different swag options, including the option to come on the show and record the Seggies with us, which, as you could tell from us just doing, is got to be one of the highlights of the last 30 minutes of today.
Oh, my gosh.
In the meantime, Gail, thank you so much for coming back and talking to us about Coming to America. I'm just sorry you had to watch the movie to do so.
I'm glad I saw it.
By all means, if you disagree with us or if you have some new perspective after you watch the movie, send us your review and we'll talk about it on a future show. But until then, Gail, Brad, and myself will remain here, hopelessly stuck in the 80s.
Everyone can see we together. Everyone.
Stuck in the 80s is now on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/StuckInThe80s podcast. Special thanks to Check Battery Daily for our theme music, and thanks for listening.
Big boy good.
Hopelessly stuck in Zamunda.